So I drove through my first pretty big rainstorm in the van, and the product of that is that I found my first leak in the van. So if you look right here in this little cubby, this is where the water was entering real deep in there. It looks like an uncompleted weld on the outside. I'll show you. So I believe the water is hitting the roof, sliding down the back, and then entering a small little cavity and then dripping in. It wasn't a ton of water, but it definitely was enough to need to be aware of. And as you can see, there's actually a little bit of rust that has started to form here in these two spots. The good news is that it was not the hole that I opened up, one of the factory roof holes through which I'm running my solar wiring, as you can see right here. So it wasn't that, which made me really glad that it wasn't my job that is leaking. Rather, it's Ford that is leaking.
That's why Ford is developing new ways to screw you over with crappy welding jobs.
I believe it's just that weld that isn't right. It's even a little damp right now, I think. But I'm going to wait till it's not raining, dry it out, get a spray bottle or a water bottle or something, and then try to find the exact place and run some sealant over that hole, let it sit for a couple days, test it again in the exact same way and see if I can reproduce the leak. There also are factory holes all along both sides of the van that are almost barely sealed at all and can crack and can come loose and then are just direct ports into the van. So I'm also, when I'm on top, going to do that too. And I highly encourage anyone who, once you've figured out where you're going to run your solar wires, once you've mounted your rack, just seal all those extra holes, because the factory sealing is almost non-existent. And so if you don't want water in your van, then that's a good idea. Another note is that I am using Thinsulate. So thankfully, even though there was a bunch of water in here and the Thinsulate got wet, the Thinsulate is hydrophobic, I think maybe that's the term. It doesn't actually absorb water, it repels it. So none of my insulation is wet, nothing is ruined. A little bit of rust that I'll clean up and recoat with some Rust-Oleum, and then I'll test that place, seal it, and we will get this van watertight. All right, so we sealed up the place where I think water was coming in the back. And next I'm going to go around to all of the factory holes that I'm not going to use and see if I can cover the rest of them with this sealant. But as you can see, the factory gaskets or holes are actually already cracking, and this is a pretty new van, so everyone should cover their factory mount holes that they're not going to use if you want to keep leaks from happening. So the Ford Transit, and probably actually every van, every standard type van, ProMaster, Sprinter, all that, has factory holes up top. And in order to make sure that you get a tight seal, which hopefully no rain will come through, you actually need to go back over everything with your own sealant. I think there are a total of 6 or 8 or so. There's a lot of holes if you don't use the standard rack mount holes. There's actually more holes. So there's several holes that are just pure holes, about the size of like a quarter or so, but then they're actually factory mounting holes, but all of them are entrances to the van, so make sure that you seal them, make sure that you at least inspect them. It would take you 10 minutes and $5 worth of sealant to actually make sure that you seal them all, so why not just go ahead and do that. So we took care of that now, and hopefully there will be no more water in the van.